Good evening, everyone. I'd like to invite you to our commission meeting of December 14th. And at this time, if you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand for 10 seconds of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Deanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hanna,
Here.
Commissioner Hufnagel,
Here.
Commissioner Husband,
Here.
Vice Mayor McCall,
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here, thank you. And we'll start with our presentations. Anyone from the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue, or let's start with the Sheriff's Department.
Just a little Sheriff's Office firefighter line.
Yes, yes.
We appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you very much.
I do love our firemen too.
Oh, we do as well.
Not policemen, yes.
We do as well.
Okay,
But we just have to make sure they know that who comes in first.
okay. Sounds like the building's on fire.
Oh, they'll still call us.
It's the holidays, now,
Deputy Sergeant Switch, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, and the statistics I'm presenting are for November of 2021. We had one sex offense, but please allow me to elaborate on that because most hear that and they want to know a little bit more. It's not something the citizens need to worry about. It's still being investigated, so I can't get too much into it, but I was working that evening, and based on everything that we know, it was something that we think that just got a little out of control, but it was somebody that they knew each other is what I'm trying to say. It was a visitor from out of state that met somebody at a local establishment, and then it may have just gone a little bit too far from there. We also have 9 assaults. Several of them were domestic related. We had 7 thefts. There were a total of 7 people arrested in the city for November. And then we had, let me rephrase that. It looks like there was a total of 9 people arrested. I don't know why it says 7 at the top, but there were a total of 9. We also had a total of 971 events in the city. Leading that was traffic enforcement and then directed patrols. And then this should come as some good news. There was only 1 crash in the city for the month of November. And then there were a total of 291 citations and warnings issued. Looks like that includes boating warnings, parking enforcement, and then traffic also.
Can you tell us if the numbers as far as from last year at this time, are we up or down? Just so the audience knows.
For November of 2020 year-to-date numbers, there were 3 sex offenses in that time frame. There were 2 robberies. There were 7 assaults, so we're actually up 2 on that. And there were 5 burglaries, and we are down on that. And there were a total of 64 larcenies. So it looks like we are down significantly in a lot of the categories.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for the sheriff? I always tell everyone that if you have something that you would like to talk to the sheriff about, they're usually here 15 minutes before the meeting, and they'd be more than happy to talk to you privately before the meeting begins. Thank you, and have a great holiday.
Thank you, and if I may, before I leave, last night it brought it to light again down in Madeira Beach. If we could please remind all the citizens to please lock their doors on their vehicles, remove any valuables, and please don't leave a key fob, or firearms inside the vehicles. Thank you.
Or near the doors.
Okay, we're going to have our new fire chief, Jeffrey Davidson, today come up and introduce himself to the commission.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, City Manager, and our community. Hello.
Hi.
My name is Jeffrey Davison. I'm the Fire Chief for Pinellas Suncoast Fire Rescue District, and we proudly serve here in Indian Rocks Beach. I took over for Chief Burton, who retired after 46 and a half years in service, and he earned his retirement. We're going to greatly miss him. I have been in the fire service. I just entered into my 34th year, so I'm hoping to be here for quite some time and serve this community well. Give you an update on the call activity that we had. So in the month of November, we had 42 calls for emergency medical services. If you know, all of our fire trucks have paramedics and EMTs on each of the truck, and they provide medical service, and then the transport is done by Sunstar. So we had 42 calls for EMS in the month of November, and it's a myriad of calls from falls and sick people and cardiac and respiratory traumas, things like that. All of our calls were in the target of under 7 minutes and 30 seconds, which is the benchmark, but our average response time was 4 minutes and 23 seconds from the time that you call 911 until we actually get dispatched, and then that time starts and we're on scene from the time we get the call. So it's 4 minutes and 23 seconds, which is a very good response time here. For fire calls, in the month of November, it was a typical month of 12 incidents. There was 4 fire alarms, 2 elevator rescues, 2 electrical issues, 3 outside fires, and 1 other agency. And I think that was Sergeant Switch had locked his keys in his car. He had to come rescue him. I told him I get to talk to you. On the fire calls, our average response time there was 4 minutes and 34 seconds, which is a very good response time. Fire call responses are usually a little longer because the firefighters have to don all their protective gear before they leave the station. So 4 minutes and 34 seconds is a great time. In the district, in our fire commissioners, seat 2, Commissioner David Artman resigned from the board December 6th. He's moving out of Indian Rocks Beach, so the district is in the process of appointing a replacement until the next general election, and there'll be a vote on the seat. Do you have any questions for me?
Does anyone have any comments for Chief Jeff?
Just want to welcome you
Thank
and wish the best for you.
Thank you. We're looking to have more of a presence in our community than we've had in the past. Be more involved with things going on in the community as well. So if there's ever anything that you all need, please don't hesitate to let me know. Something that you'd like to see us at, or a service that you'd like us to provide, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have just one quick presentation from the women's tea, and I asked some of the women that served on the board to come here tonight because what they're going to do is they're going to give to the 3 charities that we had. We had the food pantry, we had Kind Mouse, and
VIP rescue.
VIP Rescue. So let's have the ladies come up right here in front.
Yes, you got the money. Mom, you look so good.
How are you guys? So these girls, I just want you to know, there was 6 weeks before we had the tea that we even decided to have the tea because we thought that we were worried about COVID and we didn't want anybody to get sick. So I called, and most of these girls are not really involved in any other groups. And so I asked them, they're all entrepreneurs, self-employed, and they came and they took it and they ran with it. And so they picked out the 3 charities that we would donate for the holidays. And I'm going to start with you, Miss Melanie. Tell them what your business is.
I own IRB CrossFit, which is a gym right down the street. It's located between CVS and Slides, and I love what I do, and it's been awesome.
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm Cecily Benga. I'm known as CC. I am a professional pet sitter, CC's Sitting Services, and I also run IRB Animal Hospital.
Yes, you do. I'm Jean Scott, and I'm a realtor and a property manager here on the beach.
I'm Hope Wyant, and I own Zen Massage and Yoga. This is my little friend Jackson, and we just celebrated 10 years of Zen
Yes.
on IRB.
I'm Michelle Gardner. I'm a writer, editor, and also volunteer here at IRB Library.
Okay.
Who am I?
And you're one of the ones
She's
that
the-
she's
she's
getting.
the-
award.
yeah.
She's getting money.
So, who is gonna give the first award? Cecil?
I can.
Okay, you start.
Do you want me to do it this way?
Yes, I want everybody to
Okay, so I have been a local for 42 years. This is all I own and love is this area. My family was part of the Indian Rocks Beach Community Food Pantry. All my child, my nephews and nieces, we all were raised part of the Indian Rocks Beach Community Food Pantry, so it's a big home to my heart, and that is one of our charities. So I'd like to introduce Connie, who has pretty much run this food pantry for as long as I've known, with the help of my dad, my mom. My mom passed in March, so my own mom. So Connie, I'd like to present this wonderful, amazing check to you and the food pantry of $1,940.
Woo!
To you and our community. Tell us a little bit about the community, if you don't mind.
This will help so many people. We have just started to see an increase of more clients coming needing assistance with the change in the government and everything. And it takes a lot to keep the food coming and that for the people. And every little bit helps, you know, go a long way. We try to make it stretch, and we just gave out 240 turkeys for Thanksgiving, and it looks like we're going to be giving out more turkeys for Christmas, as we ended up with an abundance of some. So right now we're over the 240 that people have signed up for Christmas. And we also are having a toy store, so that the parents and grandparents that are raising children can come and pick out a couple items, you know, and stocking stuffers and all that to go, you know, for Christmas, to help, you know, lessen some of their burdens and that. So
We could drop them off at the
so
church.
that you can drop it off at the
Calvary
church,
Episcopal
and
Church, where the food pantry is located.
right, just right across the street. Can't miss our green doors and that. And we are just very, very pleased to get this thing.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, our community.
Okay, who's going next? Hope?
I am going to present the Kind Mouse. Well, Jackson is going to present the Kind Mouse, but the same amount to their charity.
$1,946.
$1,946. Give it to her, Jackson.
$46.
Thank you. Yay, Jackson.
Thank you.
So the Kind Mouse is great. I've known Kim for a long time, and she's very involved in a lot of great charities in our community. And so this one is one of the ones that is super important to me. So they help bridge the gap in hunger insecurities of children, and help teach the kids how to also give back to their own communities. So anyway, that's Kim.
Thank you so much. I live here. We actually live in, my grandparents built the house originally in the 60s. Then it became my mom's house, and then it became our house, and we added on, and it's now our home. So I've been coming here since I was 5 years old. So IRB is super special in my heart.
Very good.
The Kind Mouse, as Hope said, we do the weekend feedings. The children who get fed at school, breakfast and lunch, quite often on the weekends they go home and they have no food. So we started with maybe 100 children, and we're up to 700 a week, and we do 2 meals for the weekend, for Saturday and Sunday. And then during COVID, we were actually distributing over 2,000 meals a week. And the sheriff's office helped us distribute those, which was awesome. So this is going to make a huge difference. I get really emotional.
I know, I am.
It really will make a difference, especially at this time of year with all the children, because we feed them during the holidays too. when they're not at school. So thank you so much. Thank
So this is a big one to me, only because I'm a huge animal lover, as we know. I'm a pet sitter, I work in an animal hospital. So Betsy's here from VIP Rescue. She's a local as well, and she rescues hundreds and thousands of animals and finds them homes and rehomes them, keeps them at her house. I've been doing this 30 years, but I mean, I can't imagine I have 7 animals, so I understand it, and they're mine, but I go to other clients' houses, but I want to represent you and send you this check, $1,940 to VIP Rescue for rescuing and saving so many animals. But tell us a little bit about the
So
organization.
I'm not anywhere near the long time y'all are. I started coming to Florida when I was 13, but not to the beach area. I moved here 9 years ago. I started volunteering, and then in August I became the director of VIP Rescue. And in the last 4 months, we've saved over 200 dogs that we've gotten adopted, spayed and neutered. We've got them medical. So we take in puppies, we take in seniors, whatever we need to do to get those animals healthy and get them in new homes. So,
Thank you.
take a picture with all of them. Can you take a picture with everybody? You're done. Sorry to do that. Oh, hold that. Hold that. Sweet cheese.
Yeah, you girls can get down.
Well, we can't get up.
Cheese.
Cheese.
You're not the wild photo.
Cats and dogs.
Never mind. Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
It'll
Thank
be
you,
up.
everybody.
All right, yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's nice to meet you. The best event all year.
Thank you for that opportunity, girls, and thank you. We'll see you all hopefully next year. With that, we are going to go to agenda item number 2, public comment. 3-minute time limit for a speaker. Any member of the audience may come forward, give his or her name, address, and state any comment or concern that he or she may have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission shall be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to any individual City Commission member, and no personal or slanderous remarks shall be permitted, no speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall take place between the speaker and the City Commission. At this time, is there anyone who would like to come forward?
Good evening, my name's Tony Trevizio. I live at 415 Harbor Drive South. I've been living there since '97. I'm here to complain about the vacation rental across the street, 414 Harbor Drive South. I went on Verbo, and it's advertised as a 5-bedroom, 6-bath, sleeps 15 people, parks 8 vehicles in front of the house. That's the house directly in front of me. I don't see how he could advertise 8 vehicles, because when I look at his driveway, 6 maybe at the most. Well, Thanksgiving weekend, there was a frat party at that house. Beginning Friday, and it ended, I think they left Monday. Beer pong started at 10 in the morning. There were 40 to 50 people at the house. That's my estimation, there may have been more. So throughout the day, I'm looking out my front door. There's people throwing up on the front lawn, okay? About 7 o'clock, the music was loud. Jean lives next door, she was there that day. The music was very loud. The people were boisterous. It was just bothering everyone in the neighborhood. About 7 o'clock, the party bus pulls up, and this wasn't a limo. This was a school-sized bus. And they had people locally come in to go to this party, get on this bus, and I think the officer said that they were going down to St. Pete to party down in St. Pete. There were probably 50 people that got on that bus. They were urinating in public, okay? It was loud all night. I think the officers were called one time in the day. Now Joan, who used to work at City Hall here, I don't know Joan's last name, she lives behind Johnson.
Yeah.
I talked to her boyfriend walking the dog, and he told me she's moving because that house ruined the neighborhood, ruined her life, and it's ruining our neighborhood. So The gentleman that bought that house bought the house 6 down from me. His name's Lawrence Malloy, okay? And about 10 years ago, there was a vacation rental next to me, and we had different people in. This was illegal. We had different people in and out every week. And I told Lawrence this when he bought the house, because he comes in, he says his family wants to live in Indian Rocks Beach. He lies to the people he's buying the houses from, and then he has these vacation rentals. I think he gets $1,000 a night, but a bunch of kids, 20, 30 kids at $1,000 a night, what is it, 50 bucks to party for the weekend? You know, a frat type party, and that's what it was.
It was a bachelorette party.
Well, there were a lot of guys there. Whatever it was, it was.
You were talking while the speaker.
All right? So he bought the house down, what is it, 6 down? He bought 427 Harbor Drive South. And, you know, he's going to do the same thing there, obviously. But, you know, that's the kind of guy he is. And I'm just voicing my opinion here. If it does anything, I sure hope it does, because I've been here since '97, living on the beach. And if that's the direction that IRB is going, you know, is there any way to turn this back? Because this is getting where it's undesirable to live here. He's got his house. The house in between is Justin and Christine. The other house on the other side, they sold to a vacation rental. Then across from Phil's house, there's 2 other vacation rentals. Who in their right mind is going to buy the house in the middle? What family is going to buy that house in the middle? Okay, when they're all vacation rentals? Nobody. Some investor's going to buy that house, and the whole neighborhood's going to do this. I mean, that's just the way it's going to go. I mean, let's be realistic here, guys. So, my neighbor, he's got an 8 and 10-year-old girl, and their bedrooms are in the front. He's got a balcony in the front. He said there were people having sex on a balcony, okay, and his girls witnessed that. They're 8 and 10 years old. And he was supposed to be here tonight, but he had a bad day, so I'm here by myself, voicing my opinion and voicing my grievance on what's happening. So that's all I have to say. So my minutes are taken, they're going on file, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is there anything we can do here that anyone, you know, is aware of? Or is there anything that, you know, that
I'm
could
gonna,
turn this
after
around?
you wrap it up, and then I'm gonna have Gene Scott come up and tell you what we did about that event that happened.
How did this happen? You know, back in 2014, what actually happened? Could you tell me that?
Real secret. Okay. When you're done, then we'll,
And this is time for public comment.
this is only time for public comment.
Okay. So you want Gene to come forward? All right. Yeah, I don't know if you got a mic, but I got a mic.
Gene Scott, 420 Harbor Drive South, and I live right next door to 414, and my bedroom window is right there where they party. That particular weekend, it was a bachelor party, and the gentleman was from Tampa and invited all his friends over from Tampa. And they were quite obnoxious and quite rude, and I called him down 3 times. Finally, on the 3rd time, he told me, MF, get back in the house.
How about that?
I said, okay, I'll fix you. I called Cookie and I held the phone out on the porch and she heard everything. And she took care of it, and Greg was called and he's done something to him, so hey. I know they're gonna be obnoxious. I know the whole neighborhood might go Airbnb, but I go to Airbnb's website, I go to his house and complain. Since that incident, he's had 2 other families in there. They're quite calm. I actually have the man's number. I call him, I text him, and he said he will calm down. Now, we will see. But like I said, and Phil knows, Phil walks by the house every day. But it's quite obnoxious, especially when they have a bachelor or a bachelorette party. So, and they do sleep 20, I mean, they can pack them in there. But that's how it's advertised. But I didn't go to VRBO, I went to Airbnb, and that's how it's advertised.
He's on purple.
Well, that's VRBO.
Thank you, Gene, for your comments, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? About that? You can speak about whatever you'd like. State your name and your,
I am Cecily Vega. I'm a professional pet sitter.
where
I
do you
travel.
live? What's your address?
It's private.
No.
264 Larchwood Drive in Largo, right over the Bel Air Causeway. I pet sit all over Indian Rocks Beach, Harbor Drive North. Every avenue you can imagine on Indian Rocks Beach, I've been doing it for 30 years. I sleep at clients' houses. I will vouch for both of them. I'm 391 12th Avenue, every house, Harbor Drive South, 536, Harbor Drive South, North, you name it. I've seen all these Airbnbs popping up all over. I stay at clients' houses and I'm up until the crack of dawn with a lot of these houses that I stay in. I vouch for that. I hear it all the time. There's no rights, I guess, for those people that work or live in these homes that aren't Airbnb. I don't know what they are. But as a professional pet sitter that travels through all these homes on Indian Rocks Beach for the last 30 years, it's getting worse. It's getting horrible. I'm up till 2 or 3 in the morning because they're partying, noise ordinance. I have called the sheriff's department several times on some of these people as well. I try not to cause trouble, so I just leave it at that. But absolutely, Harbor Drive North, Harbor Drive South are probably the biggest streets. They're nicer homes. But there's on 12th Avenue, Hidden Harbor, been there, 12th, 13th, 15th, you name it. So I'd like to see something done about it because I don't sleep as I'm sitting with these dogs and animals. The dogs are barking 24 hours a day because of all the noise that they're hearing from all these local houses. So that's it.
Thank you, Cecily.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward at this time?
Can I ask one more question? Why does Bel Air Beach not have vacation rentals?
They do.
They
And,
do?
yes, and I'm gonna leave it at that for right now, and we can't answer at this time, okay?
Okay.
This is just strictly public comment. You may come forward, sir.
My name is Eric Sullivan. I'm a resident at 445 Harbor Drive South. I'm here for an agenda topic, so this was not on my mind to speak of, but hearing the comments, I just want to back up. As a resident of Harbor Drive South, this is absolutely the case. Witnessed it firsthand, getting up early in the morning, walking the dog, and seeing what's happening, the aftermath of it, hearing it late at night. And the stuff that you mentioned that is going on in the neighborhood is completely inexcusable, so anything that we can do. So grateful for the commission, for all the work that you do. Love this community. It's an amazing place to live. So I just want to underscore it is an issue, and hopefully there's something we can do about it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Hearing none, we're gonna close the public comment. We'll start with our report from the city attorney. Randy, do you have a report tonight?
Yes, Commission, first and foremost, and it occurs to me now that I didn't do something I told the manager I would do. One of the things you requested was that we draft correspondence to the legislature. I have drafted that correspondence. If the manager doesn't object, I'll read the draft now, just to continue to move that item along, so if you could just give me a moment to pull that up. So the request was that I draft correspondence to the legislature concerning, namely, Senate Bills 280 and 620. I sent that draft last Wednesday to the manager. It reads as follows, and if we have consensus approval, we can get this on letterhead, even potentially even this evening. It says, "Dear Senator, Representative, such and such, as elected officials in the Florida community, we thank you for your service to the residents of our great state and willingness to engage in an open dialogue on the policies that shape our future. We, the City Commission of the City of Indian Rocks Beach and Pinellas County, write to express our strong opposition to and concern regarding legislation that you may be called to vote on this session. Specifically, we're troubled by Senate Bills 280 and 620. These legislative proposals encumber the ability of small communities like ours to respond to their constituencies by requiring overburdensome findings for legislative enactments while creating civil exposure to damages and fees. Senate Bill 280, for example, fundamentally alters the well-established standard of review for municipal enactments and pairs that change with a deviation from the ordinary operation of Florida law by subjecting local governments to exposure for attorney's fees. Similarly, with limited exceptions, Senate Bill 620 creates a cause of action against municipalities for municipal enactments that are proven to cause a 15% loss of revenue or, underscore, profits, which is also paired with municipal exposure to attorney's fees. Inexplicably, the entitlement to attorney's fees for the claimant is not reciprocally extended to the municipality should it prevail in its defense. This broad entitlement will have a chilling effect on legislative bodies across the state, not just for innovative or unique enactments, but those that may practically serve the majority of residents or business owners in a community. Legislative enactments like these place impractical and untenable restraints on the ability of local communities like ours to respond to their residents. The innovation and diversity that underpins our tourist industry, fostered by our state's home rule principles and civil immunities, will be eroded by a fear of exposure to liability. In Florida's smaller communities, this could mean a legislative body weighing the need for legislation against potential insolvency for a potentially unidentifiable field of litigants. We respectfully request that you advocate and vote against these unwarranted intrusions on local governments. And that's the proposed text. Of course, we can have that for you in a hard copy to review, but that request was made to draft an advocacy piece, and that's what that would look like. As you know from other correspondence that I've sent you this week, Senate Bill 620 did go before its first committee. It passed along party lines, 7-4. It's in the Rules Committee, and checking the agendas and Senate materials thus far, I've not seen it scheduled for a hearing date or voting time to continue to move through that committee. 280 has not had substantial traction yet in the Senate, although the reports are that may likely change sooner than later with leadership being behind these and other preemptions. Speaking to very, very broadly, this is part of a greater trend that, as you can see here tonight based on citizen comment, your hands are fettered in the ways that you can respond to these and other concerns, and it puts you as legislators and you as residents in untenable positions in your own communities. And I always get a little concerned and sympathetic in these hearings because when we hear these concerns, because I can tell you the people who work up here and serve you want to find solutions, and the things that seem like common sense solutions to the residents aren't always available to the commissioners. And the blank, what may come across as blank faces to you are people really trying to think behind the scenes on what other creative solutions there are behind just issuing fines to people. And so with that in mind, I don't have anything else to add except to say I thank you for your continued employment of my firm and me as we reach the end of this year. The last 2 years especially have been particularly interesting as we find innovative issues that none of the five of you thought you'd be working through with legal counsel or staff. I thank you for the opportunity to serve this community. It's genuinely a pleasure. I look forward to the next year, so thank you.
Thank you, Randy. And are we in consent that he will sign in? Everybody's okay with it?
Sure.
And then,
I won't sign it. You guys will.
Well, we'll sign it. And then what we'll do with it is I'd like all of the mayors from the Big C, because they would like to also send it from their communities so that we have a voice. And is it possible to send it to any of the heads of those committees or anything? Where could we send that?
That was going to be the last thing I asked you for direction on it. We can look at the committees it's directed to and who the members of those committees are and have it sent to them, as well as your, I know the other direction was copying your local representative, and we can do that as well. I would advise it goes to the committees that are considering it, not the full House at this, or Senate for that matter at this time. And of course, we would, to the extent that the companion bills exist in the House, expressing it as such. We can get that together in the next few days.
Is that a consensus for
Yes.
everybody? Okay. Okay, we have a consensus.
Thank you. I have nothing further at this time.
Report of the city manager.
I provided a written report, but I've had 2 or 3 more items that I want to cover with you. So I actually got this letter, opened it up yesterday afternoon. It's from FEMA. And usually when I open up FEMA letters, I get a little nervous, but this is actually a good news thing, and we'll talk about it for just a minute. Look at FEMA letter. The city participates in the National Flood Insurance Program. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. We've contracted for years with a group called CRS Consulting, and they specialize in the flood insurance program. There's a lot of staff time that's involved in this. Every 5 years, FEMA does what's called a verification visit, and I was oversimplifying this, but they come in and they literally look at every permit that we've issued, and they want to make sure that we're issuing permits in compliance with the FEMA rules. They look at files, records. We have to have a log where somebody wants to call and find out what flood zone they're in. That has to be documented. There's a long list of things done. I'm greatly simplifying this. And the good news is, we just finished our 5-year verification visit, and what this letter indicates is that the city's going to retain its Class 6 rating, which means that property owners that have flood insurance, which is almost everybody, will continue to get a 20% discount on their flood insurance premiums. And just in our little city, I got the updated number today, that saves property owners on their flood insurance $599,000 a year on their flood insurance because the city participates in this program. And it's a great return on the money because the small contract we have with CRS Consultants and then all the work that's done by staff in-house, we estimated like staff time and then we added the consultants contract. We probably spend about $18,000 a year implementing and doing all the paperwork and the reporting. Like I said, I always feel a little uncomfortable singling individual staff people out, but Dean in particular does a lot with this. Dean's assistant does a lot with this, but there's a lot of different people. But you know, to net $599,000 worth of flood insurance savings, and we spend about 18, that's a pretty good investment of the money. So fortunately, we won't have another big 5-year visit for another 5 years, but we have these annual visits. But I just wanted to provide that information to the commission because I got that today, so that's the good news. And it saves everybody knows property has flood insurance, a lot of money in town. I'll briefly address, and I wish the gentleman had stayed, but briefly address the Harbor Drive property, and just vacation rentals in vacation rentals in general. And this is, I would put this on the category of don't shoot the messenger. The reality of what we have going on in Indian Rocks Beach is, and I'm just giving you what I'm seeing, what we were experiencing in City Hall, is that during the peak of COVID, we had a slow up of conversions of single-family houses to vacation rentals because at some point, you know, for a period of time, they were supposed to be legally closed and the market was not good. People didn't travel, so I think some people that were going to convert or buy a piece of property and convert it, they just kind of put those things on hold. Well, all that's changed now. So, you know, it's a weekly occurrence where properties are being converted. In fact, and this is why I said, this is where I get the part of don't shoot the messenger. And just, you know, I didn't correct this problem. I'm just telling you what's going on is that at the rate we're going, the majority of the properties that are on the east side of Guth Boulevard, north of Fifth, south of Bel Air Beach will be vacation rentals. I mean, that's where we're headed. Because the area that Michelle and I lived in, off Bay Boulevard, around 22nd, all the traditional residential, the way they were used is almost gone. So vacation rentals are here to stay. Even if the legislature, and I'm going to put on a planner hat, try to stay out of Randy Morris Avenue legal, even if the legislature tomorrow came back to its good senses and said cities can regulate vacation rentals again, all these ones that have been put in place can legally, they'll be legal non-conforming uses, so they technically would never go away. So just always remember that. On this particular location, it is a large house. There's been so much trash put out on garbage days that under the city code, the public services director, which is Dean, has the authority to increase the rates of what we charge based on whether it's like a traditional house or more of a commercial setting. And this property months ago, we upped the commercial garbage rate to accommodate or to fit what was going on there. Even when that's happened, we've had situations where garbage is put out early, it's put out in cans, it's put out in bags, it's put out in cardboard boxes. They've received now their second citation, and the way that works is first citation I think is $100. Second time you get cited is $300. That's what they're up to now is $300. And the third time you're $500 after that. So on the code enforcement side, that's what we've done is we've increased the fee that we're charging on solid waste, and now we're up there at the second tier of the penalties, and they're going forward. Anytime we have an issue, they're going to get the next one will be $500, and thereafter it'll just be $500 every time. we've had conversations, I know Mike Kelly's had conversations with the owner. The owner was mentioned earlier, I'm not gonna go there, like the previous speaker did, but it's kind of like speeding citations. You know, when they rent houses out, whether it's short-term or long-term, in this case vacation rental, when they rent a house out, they may go 10 rentals and everything's okay because it's a family or whatever. And then you'll have as was described, I didn't see it, so I don't know, but the college frat kind of party, all these are going to be handled by the sheriff's office on a case-by-case basis. They can't go in, they're not going to go in and automatically cite somebody over a noise issue just because now the new renter that's there for 3 or 4 days is violating, or appears to be violating the noise ordinance. They're always going to err on the side of, hey, you may not be aware of what the noise ordinance is, but this is what it is. You need to cut it down, calm it down, or whatever. Because they're working on compliance. So that's the issue that you have, is that it's not that we were here 2 weeks ago, I'm going to cite you for a noise ordinance because they're not the ones that they were there 2 weeks ago. So that's how this works. And like I said, it's the same thing if you were trying to be a speeder. But it's a difficult situation. There's no end to this. There's nothing that presents somebody can buy a piece of property and convert. And I can tell you that every piece of property that we're aware of, and believe people let us know where these things are set up. Everyone that we are aware of are in compliance with the ordinance y'all passed, which requires a full sign, registering with the city, a list of things that we have. But unfortunately, the situation that we have this is not going to go away. And then I'll say, to be completely transparent, fair about this, is that, we probably had to ask Mike and the front folks recently what the number we're up to. I know we're over 200 now.
She said 200.
Yeah, on the east side of Gulfport. Other than this piece of property and a couple of others that I can think of, we rarely get complaints about vacation rentals, which is a good thing. We just have these problem properties, and like I said, we've had that conversation, but I can't give you any guarantees because I'm not, and the city's not involved in who people are renting to. So just because the renters that are in there tonight are cooperating doesn't mean the renters that are going to be in there. So it's got to be handled over and over again. But we're on the city side of it, on the garbage, solid waste kind of thing, we're doing everything we can. That's why this person is up to the 300 mark, and we'll go up probably again. But the public safety response is going to be dealt with by the sheriff's office, and it's going to be dealt with what they see on the ground. And let me just say this too. I hate to go over this, but I just, saw that needs to be honestly put out on the table, is that, we don't, Mike Kelly and my part-time code person, they don't have the ability to cite somebody for being drunk, or there's references made about sexual acts or urinating in the yard. But the only way the law enforcement person can cite somebody for that is for them to see it themselves. So just because it was rumored, or just because you think you saw that, if they get there and that's not going on, they can't cite somebody just because somebody else said that they were doing that. So that's it's not a perfect system where somebody may think, well, I saw that, or I think I saw it, why didn't the deputy write that? They can't legally write that unless they witness it. And that's why they show up and the noise is loud. They'll say, hey, you gotta turn this down. Warning number one. And of course, if the person looks at them and says, I'm not gonna turn it down, or is drunk or doesn't cooperate, they can cuff them, they can cite them or whatever. But it's up to the judgment of the deputy on the call to make that decision. And that's true for anything. When you get pulled over, they're going to run your driver's license, and if you've never received a ticket, and unless you're going 90, if you're going to get out of Gulf Boulevard, and Gulf Boulevard is 30 miles an hour, if you're going down Gulf Boulevard and you're going 37, most deputies are gonna run you, and if you've not had a history of speeding, they're gonna say, hey, slow it down. And then they put you in the system, and if you ever show up again, then now, if you're somewhere in the county or really within the state system, that gives a law enforcement person better that knowledge of sight. So it's the same thing applies to vacation rentals, is that they're gonna deal with the person that's there. That if anybody, either at this meeting tonight or people that watch the video later, think that there is a perfect system to deal with the influx of vacation rentals. And no ways, and one other thing I'll say about this, and I appreciate y'all giving me a little time to talk about this, is that when a deputy goes to a home and, just say in the middle of the afternoon, and there's a pool in the backyard, and there's laughing and yelling going on, they're gonna treat that vacation rental just like they would if it was a full-time resident living there. So, you know, in other words, they're not gonna do anything different than they would do, because if they came to Phil Hannah's house and Phil Hannah was having a party in his pool, they did the exact same thing. They'd say, Mr. Hannah, you need to, what, you need to turn it down, it's too loud. So, you know, nobody in City Hall created this situation. We're dealing with the best we can, but the reality of it is this is not going to go away. And that's the way the sheriff's office legally is going to enforce their part of it. Because I said the people that work for me can't write those type of citations. But that's what happened in this case. We're actively having conversations with the owner that, you know, I don't really have his property, so I can give you the insurance if the police can go there. And one last thing, I'll probably say, is that when comments are made about 50 people showing up at a house, that may be a little disturbing, but, and since I'm picking on Phil, I'll pick on you again, is that Phil could have a party at his house and have 50 people, and there again, the sheriff's office is going to treat Phil Hannah and his 50 people just like he would if it was, you know, on a vacation rental property. So that's what I know about this. That's what's going on with this, and we're doing the best on just our small part of it to deal with it. And I know the sheriff's office is doing their best to deal with their part of it.
Greg, question on the $500 fine, is that the max that we could go up?
Yeah, that's the max, but we can after that. Oh, I'm sorry, you good?
I was just going to say that 500 is max on repeat You're talking about repeat violations versus the initial violation.
Yes, sir.
The amount of fines is capped by in Chapter 162 of the Florida statutes that addresses code enforcement fines. The other challenge you face is every instance is its own violation, so it's not the notion that they just are automatically getting a fine is not how it works. They have due process. So if they're choosing to contest a citation, you have a hearing, you have and a trial, albeit brief, to prove up the violation where the city staff, Mike Kelly or whomever, PCSO, if appropriate, is going to be testifying as to what happened. There's obviously costs associated with that on our end, legal, in pursuing that. And so there's there is a cost-benefit analysis to how frequently do you cite somebody, how often is this recurrent, and all those things. It's not like what we would call in the law in-rem or property violations where you don't have a roof on the house and you're not going to have a roof every day on that. And if we went through a special magistrate or a code enforcement board where you'd be assessing a daily recurring fine, this is a one-time fine. And for some people, that's a penalty, and for other people, that's a cost of doing business. And that calculus is not one that tips, which is why I said that in my comments earlier that the city does look to find solutions and work with property owners and platforms. And as you'll recall, when we adopted the short-term rental ordinance, we had every shareholder in the room, from the Realtors Association, Airbnb, MV, VRBO reps, and trying to find practical solutions that work and recognize that tourism is an engine of our economy, and our residents need to be able to reliably have peace and enjoyment of their properties as well, and that balance is difficult to strike.
But to further answer your question, Cookie, in this particular case, before the guy was ever cited the first time, he received a notice of violation. Basically, he was warned that, in our opinion, he was violating city code. And then we had the second situation where he received a $100 fine, and he's had the third situation where he's $300. And with this particular piece of property, the directive that I'm giving the code enforcement people is that since he's been warned and we have any issues from here on out, he's getting the $500, the next one, $500, that's what he's gonna get every time. And if he wants to go fight us with the court about that, he can haul off and do that, but that's what we're gonna do. My opinion is once in this category is solid waste, once the property owner, is operating the business here, once they've been noticed, warned, they didn't do anything, and they violated again, they're getting a $500 on that piece of property as many times as we need to write it. And if he can absorb that fine, that's what he's getting from us.
But it can, and so my thought is if it's always sanitation, in this case it's the sanitation, that, they put garbage out. But it can never go over 500.
No.
Okay, all right. Is there any comments or questions that any of the city commission has for Greg about the vacation rentals?
Can I ask Greg a question? I know I'm not supposed to.
No, but not at this time.
It's up to you. I mean, up to the commission. We don't, that's not really your normal, but it's up to you.
Dean Scott, 420 Harbor Drive South, next to 414. Is there any way you can, he's running a commercial business. Shouldn't they have fire sprinklers in that property? Because that's a 2-story property, 6 bedrooms and 5 baths.
I can't speak to fire code requirements. The fire department is provided, I don't know what frequency, every couple of months, with an updated list of properties that have pulled a business license for a vacation rental, but at that point, that's on them.
Because they've actually had a fire in that house.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, well, okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Great.
Just a couple quick things. I want to congratulate Cookie, Joe, and Mr. Bond for qualifying to be 2 commissioners, and Cookie re-elected as mayor commissioner. That was official today. And last thing, most importantly, is on behalf of all the employees and the team of great folks that I had the pleasure of working with. We want to thank the commission for the spirit in which y'all work with us and all the good things that we get done. And we wish all of y'all Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Greg. With that, we'll start with Mr. Nagel.
Okay. Thank you to the city staff for the tree lighting, for the boat parade, and all the other civic activities that keep us in a small town, despite the challenges that we're facing with the short-term rentals. One business request, I was hoping that we could obtain the procedures for becoming qualified to be a fire commissioner and put that on our website, because it's important for our city that our fire commissioner is active in that district. And I just think it would be good for us to help outreach and make sure that we get qualified candidates to run for fire commission. We have a great relationship with them, and I'd like to keep it that way. And then just thoughts around all the, as the nature of the city changes and we become more commercial in formerly residential areas, it's probably going to be necessary for us to envision a larger police response budget with an additional staff allocation so that we can meet those demands in a timely fashion and still address the other law and order issues that come up. I heard that the wonderful magnet that Denise, you did, people were taking them home because they liked them so much. They were stealing them as like a memento, which is kind of a shame because it was really useful information. And so perhaps we would have a more bland one-page brochure that we would give to the sheriff's department when they do make that first call, and that first warning that just in very big font and simple words says, you know, you can't do this, and then maybe that would help. I think most people are good people, and, you know, I do think the 1% is going to cause a lot of problems for the city. But I do think it, as we go through budgeting next year, as you guys go through budgeting next year, I'll be with you in spirit. I would like you to maybe discuss and debate whether or not additional law enforcement funds might be necessary, depending on how the activities go. With that, congratulations, Mr. Baum. Looking forward to having you add value to the commission and giving me a short-term break from sitting on this side of the table. So, yes, that's it.
Mr. McCall?
Yes, just real quick, I'd like to apologize as I did miss the tree lighting in the parade, a couple of my favorite events of the year. Mixed up my calendar, bottom line. Scheduled something that I should have. But, so that is over. Do want to bring to light, obviously this time of year, Kathy Mack over at C21 is back at it. Her through the HOA and so forth are working on the toy drive. I don't know how many years she's been doing it, but it's got to be well over a decade or so, I would assume. But a little variation, there will be no event this year. With COVID, the children and the mothers are still going to come pick up their bikes, and I'll probably be delivering them on either Monday, I expect, something of that nature, to the rest of them. But for all involved, basically it's her annual toy drive. Helmets, bikes, we always try to get bikes, we normally get over 100 bikes there. And really all ages and sizes. If you have any questions, you know, Kathy at Century 21 or Mary Beth for the HOA can answer any of that. But we do have drop-off points at Century 21 over here, Century 21 Begans, City Hall. Thank you guys for that. The Beach Arts Center, Cookie Cutter. Thank you, Cookie. Slice and Sandy's all have drop-off places, and even evening drop-off places. Tomorrow night appears to be Salt Public House. Just getting our local businesses involved. The Groupers is on Thursday. The Anecdote Brewery is on Friday. Those are all 6 to 9. And then Saturday the 18th is 11 to 4 at Chicago Jack's there in Century 21, same complex. And it just, if you don't know, basically all of these donations go to the Grace House. I've had the honor of delivering these toys and bikes to these charities or housing areas. Grace House up in Clearwater, helping those families getting back on their feet. Shepherd's Village, which is right here behind Maggie Mays, helping those families in education and helping them get back in the workforce and so forth. Miracle on the Bay, which has been a new charity for this event for the last couple of years, that works with families with disabled children. And then we also support, a lot of the toys also go to just local military families, either through the VA or American Legion. So like I say, that'll be through the 18th. If you don't want to go out and buy for yourself, the HOA can accept cash or checks, that sort of thing. And Mary Beth and my wife, I think, are going shopping on Thursday. So if you can't make it out yourself, we're even supplying a shopping service, it appears. But other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hanna?
Again, Judy, congratulations. Welcome when March comes. Ed, can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And Joe, congratulations. Also, the events that we had were very good. We had a great street parade, and I am here to tell you that Mr. Hufnagel can in fact hit a second-story landing with a frisbee. just want that to go on the record. It's phenomenal. Other than that, Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay safe.
That's really all I have to say, is just have a wonderful holiday and enjoy yourself and be with your family and friends, and it's been a great year. Thank you.
And congratulations.
Just a couple things. I asked Randy about, there are several bills in the legislatures, right? Do you have any comments on those with the legislators?
The mayor's referring, during the discussion, she asked me if there's any pending legislation concerning short-term rentals. There is one bill proposed in the House, by House Bill 6033 by Member Greco, repealing all the preemptions provisions in the current law. A fantastic notion. It does not have a companion bill. It's been referred to 4 separate committees and not been heard by any of them at this point. Highly unlikely that bill gains any traction during this session. And Greco being a member of the minority party, I believe. Vacation rentals, there's another one, Senate Bill 512, that would seek to expand that slightly. Excuse me, just clicking through. And it has not really moved through committees at all. There's quite a few higher priorities this session, as we saw with the special session concerning vaccination requirements and responses to the pandemic. The short-term rental issue continues to be one of a political moment, but not the one at the moment. It's taking a back seat. That doesn't, as we've seen in the past, that doesn't prevent it from gaining traction when session starts or into session, but as of now, we have no reason to believe that it's moving quickly through the process.
I was in Representative DeSiglia's office, and he actually had a copy ready for me to show me. He wanted to know what I thought, and basically what it was, and I'm so glad to hear that it's not moving, was everyone would lose their grandfather clause and be in the same situation that we're in, where they would have restrictions and guidelines, and, I think at some point it's probably going to come to that, and we'll continue to fight it. I go up there almost every session. I've been in front of, when we really thought it was bad, I did get to speak, and we were able to hold it. We're able to hold it so that they don't expand it worse than what we already have it in this community. So I just wanted to make that point. The other point I want to make, like Jean, my phone number, I would give it to everybody in this town. If they don't have it, here it is, 727-560-7565. You can call me at any time if you have a problem. And, I don't care when you first hear it. If you do not want to call the sheriff, I have no problem calling for you. And then through that, as Jean said, she called me. I responded. I called our staff. Greg Mims was on it immediately, and we took care of the situation, and that's how we'll handle it if the person doesn't want to get involved. I want to say thank you for all of the staff this year, all of the great events that we have, and getting through COVID to this point. Congratulations to our new commissioner who'll be coming on in March.
Thank you.
Very happy for you, and very happy for myself and Joe too. I did want to tell the commission that as far as the beach renourishment, that Michael Connor, who was appointed by President Biden, has now, the vote was taken in Congress, and he has passed. I don't know when he will actually be sitting in his position with the Corps of Engineers, but I do know that Congressman Christ has already reached out to the Corps to get a meeting with him concerning the beach renourishment and the issue that we're having as far as the easements. And I've asked that we be kept abreast, Greg and I, so that we can keep everyone abreast and hopefully have some kind of a meeting or know of a meeting that we can be a part of, so that we can make some changes and move the featuring nourishment in a better position for our communities. And I think that is good for me. Happy past Thanksgiving, okay? It's been already a long night, you have no idea, but anyway, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. I'm looking for other additions and deletions. Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
There are some, thank you for the indulgence, Mayor. There are a few items on the consent agenda, items A through G. Item A, approval of the November 9, 2021 regular city commission meeting minutes. Item B, appointing Myra Warming to serve on the Planning and Zoning Board as a regular board member for a 2-year term expiring May 31st, 2023. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement with the West Pinellas Little League for the municipal-owned property known as the Joseph Campbell Baseball Field. Item D, appointing Board of Adjustment and Appeals first alternate board member Michael Austin Campbell as a regular board member to fill the unexpired term of Waldemar H. Clark Jr. expiring June 20th, 2023. Item E, appointing Karen O'Donnell to serve on the Board of Adjustment and Appeals as first alternate board member for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2024. Item F, confirming action taken during the December 2nd, 2021 Special City Commission meeting. And item G, approval of the December 2nd, 2021 Special City Commission meeting minutes. This has been a reading of the items A through G on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to public hearings. 6A, BOA case number 2021-14. This is 339 12th Avenue. Randy, would you please read?
Yes, we are on item 6A, BOA case number 2021-14, considering a variance request from section 94-86 sub A sub 1 of the Code of Ordinances of 2 feet 6 inches into the required 12-foot setback, side setback, resulting in a total setback of 9 feet 6 inches on the west side for the installation of a boat lift for the property located at 339 12th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Indian Beach, re-revised, 2nd edition, Block 89, Lot 7, parcel number 06-3015-4206-608-90070. This is a quasi-judicial hearing and a quasi-judicial proceeding. You are not making the law, but rather applying the law to the established facts presented to you in the competent substantial evidence for your consideration. Before we begin, will anybody who intends to offer any testimony on the hearing for 339 12th Avenue, please stand and raise your right hand. That's the one. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, before we begin, has any member of this commission had any ex parte communications with the applicant on this application?
No.
Let the record reflect all have responded in the negative. Have any member of this body conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating the application being sent to you tonight?
No.
All having responded in the negative, with that, you may begin. Ms. Harmon?
Okay, I'm having difficulties, I'm sorry with my PowerPoint, I was trying to bring up, I don't know what happened here. What I was kind of trying to do was bring up the agenda, which we just had. This case here, we'll go through.
Eddie, would you mind moving the mic down?
Yeah. I'm just gonna bring up the agenda because I don't know. I thought I had the right one. Sorry. Okay. There we go. All right, we're just gonna use. I'm sorry, guys. All right, this is, I'm sorry, I don't know what, she had sent me the very one. Yeah, I know, it is like.
You just went by.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. All right, this is the property on 339 12th Avenue. There's property. And what they are asking for is to put the dock on, the boat slip on one side of the existing dock. And they'll have to go into the 12-foot side yard setback. We looked at both sides. Either side, you would have to get a variance in order to put a boat lift up. The staff recommended approval on this, and so did the Board of Adjustment. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Eddie? If you'd like to come forward. And tell us your name and a little bit about the property and your variance.
Yeah, so my name is Natalie Dwyer. I'm here speaking on behalf of the owner, Michael Mirmanish, who could not be here tonight, and his application for the variance at 339 12th Avenue.
And Natalie, I'm sorry to interrupt you. What is your relationship to the applicant?
He is my boss.
Okay, thank you.
And she's the agent on that.
Thank you.
And so his desire is to put a 16,000-pound boat lift on the west side of the already in place dock that was built by the previous owner. In order for him to place the boat lift on the west side, it requires a variance of the setback of the standard 12-foot setback, 2.5 feet to 9.5 feet. His plan has full approval of his west side neighbors, 337 12th Avenue, Pete and Annie Lopez, who have signed off on the submitted drawing. Gulfside Docks is planning to install the boat lift once the approval is obtained. Of that note, the boat lift would not be amenable on the east side of the dock due to the L-shaped nature of the current dock, which would require a variance as well and an approximate 6-foot setback. In addition, the east side neighbors at 341 12th Avenue, Liz and Courtney Covington, have also given the okay for the boat lift on the west side of the dock and would be therefore making parking and docking of the boat more cumbersome.
Does anyone have any questions for Natalie? Hearing none. Okay, I'm going to have you sit down. Eddie, do you want to add anything before I go to public comment? I'm going to open public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward concerning this variance at this time? Hearing none. Is there anything else, Natty, that you would like to add?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve BOA case number 2021-14.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any comments from the motion?
Nope, no comments.
Any comments from the second?
It just appears, to place a boat lift on this property is a variance on either side. Right? I mean, the east side is worse than the left. Right?
I'm sorry.
It's unfortunate. but-
Any other comments from the commission? Hearing none. Deanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hannah?
Yes.
Commissioner Hufnagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vice Mayor McCall?
Yes.
Commissioner Hausberg? Yes. Mayor Kennedy?
Yes, motion carries. Okay. With that, we'll go to 6B, BOA case number 2021-15. Randy, would you please read?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is Board of Adjustment case number 2021-15 for 445 Harbor Drive South. Considering a variance request from section 94-86 sub A sub 1 of the Code of Ordinances of 10 feet 6 inches into the required 12-foot side setback, resulting in a total setback of 1 foot 6 inches on the west side for the installation of a new dock and a new boat lift for the property located at 445 Harbor Drive South, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Indian Beach, re-revised 19th edition, lot 15, parcel number 06-30-15-42372-000150. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Before we begin, has any member of this body had any, before that, anybody wishing to rise and speak on the application for 445 Harbor Drive South, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give before this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, has any member of this body had any ex parte communications with the applicant or their agent? Seeing none, has any member of this body conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating the proposal before you this evening? All having responded in the negative, Hetty, you may proceed.
Okay, this property is 440 Harbor Drive South. You see it again, it does, the shape of the lot, it does, go narrower as it gets into the water. And on here, you can see there's an existing dock there. He wants to replace that and extend it to make it a longer dock and keep the boat on the same side here for the boat lift. And you can see here how the property line does go slanting in on that side, on this. Now, staff did recommend approval because of the way the lot was shaped. However, the Board of Adjustment denied it. They felt that they could move the dock over and accommodate the boat slip. I think what the original intent of the owner was that he wanted to have two boats up there. And he was not at the meeting at the Board of Adjustment, neither was the dock builder. And so, I mean, I've spoken with the applicant, but he has not been on public record.
Thank you, Hetty. Come forward at this time, state your name, and you can tell us whatever you'd like.
Absolutely. My name is Eric Sullivan, resident 445 Harbor Drive South. I bought this as my home in 2016. Since that time, I have remodeled both interior and exterior of the home to bring it up kind of to modern look and feel. The last project on the list was a dock, and unfortunately Irma dealt it its last death blow. And it was actually, just the one correction, it was a 35-foot dock originally, and when the storm surge came up, it lifted the boards, dropped them back down, and so the boards were unsafe. So I removed all those boards from the dock, and so now that's what you see in that aerial. It's just about 10 to 12 feet of dock, but the original dock did extend out to 35 feet. Now, the current situation, I have approval from both my neighbors. If they would be here tonight if they weren't their new grandbaby in Texas, to the west. They're tired of seeing the eyesore of the existing dock. They understand that because the pie-shaped lot pinched in that corner, if I were to move it, it does then limit two things. One, the boat's not moving, it's going to stay exactly where it is, just be on a lift. And two, if I do move the dock to the other side of the house, it now takes it out of alignment with the backyard, the walkway, the back door, and how the house was originally designed, where the dock is located. The other piece to that is not necessarily the desire to have a second boat that stays there, but if I do move the dock over, I am making it narrow to accommodate more space, but if you move it over, it then renders the other side useless, because what you can't see on that aerial very clearly is that the neighbor to my east actually has a pylon that goes pretty far out right there. Whether or not it's on the property line or not is in question, but if it goes further to the east, that can't be utilized. So both neighbors have signed off. I want to respect their time. I think the salient points are that the existing location is where it's going to stay. It's not moving. It is aligned with the house, and it keeps everything within proportion of where it's currently at. It only impacts the one neighbor who is in full support of the plan. So hopefully we can accommodate this variance.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone that has a question at this time for the applicant? Hetty, do you want to add anything? Okay, I'm going to have you go back to your seat and see, we're going to open the public comment and see if there's anybody at this time who would like to come forward on this variance. Hearing none, we'll close the public comment. Is there any other last minute comments that you'd like to make?
No.
You're all good? Okay. Anything else, Hetty? With that, I'm going to go to the commission. We're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve BOA case number 2021-15.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second by Vice Mayor McCall. Commissioner Hosberg, is there anything that you want to say at this time about this variance?
I just think he's going to have it where he's going to have it. He's going to have that dock right there, and that just makes perfect sense to me.
Right. Anything from the Vice Mayor?
We've dealt with this many times before with our, with the boats and docks and the cul-de-sacs or the bays.
Just the pie-shaped lot creates
It does.
an issue.
Any other comments from the rest of the commission? Hearing none, Ian, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hanna?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoofnagel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCall?
Yes.
I said McCall.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hausberg,
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to move on to BOA case number 2021-18, which is agenda item 6C.
This is Board of Adjustment number case 2021-16 for 530 Harbor Drive North. Considering a variance request from section 110-131 sub 1 sub f sub 2 sub little I of the Code of Ordinances of 12 feet 8 inches into the required 25-foot rear yard setback, resulting in a total rear yard setback of 12 feet 2 inches to allow for an aluminum awning for the property located at 530 Harbor Drive North, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Brown's Addition to re-revised map of Indian Rocks Beach, lot 14, parcel number 063015-12402000140. Is there anybody will anybody who intends to rise and speak on this matter please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Has any member of this body had any ex parte communications with the applicant or their agent?
No.
Seeing none, has any member of this body conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating the application before you this evening? All having responded in the negative, Hetty, you may proceed.
Okay, this property is located at 530 Harbor Drive North, and a closer view of it. They recently purchased it and renovated the house and would like some shade in the backyard. They propose to do a 16-foot awning out here in the back, in the rear yard setback. The staff recommend denial, so did the Board of Adjustments. They suggested to see if they could maybe get some approval from the neighbors. I haven't heard anything, I do not see the applicant here. So, any questions?
If no questions for staff, there does not appear to be anybody here on behalf of the applicant. You do have their application materials before you and staff's testimony as well as staff's evidence. There's nothing in the code that permits you to consider their absence as a element against or in favor of their proposal. You have the evidence to consider. But unless there's any questions for staff, I would recommend you open it for any public comment.
I'd like to open this to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this variance at 530 Harbor Drive North? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any comments or questions that the commission has? Phil?
I read the information earlier, and I don't see a hardship here. One of the comments was that they could put in a motorized awning out there, and their comment was it only comes in 6 and 8 foot lengths. I have a 17-foot motorized awning at my house that goes out and also has a box on it that if I'm not home and the wind goes to 30 miles an hour, it rotates and comes back in. It provides adequate shade, and for that reason, I'm out.
Any other comments from the commission?
We had a issue similar before,
Yes,
but it was
we
a really
did.
odd-shaped lot, and
Yes.
I felt like the house was turned sideways, and the hardship was arising from the curvilinear nature of the shoreline. I don't see that here, and I'm inclined to support the denial.
Any other comments from the commission? Hetty, do you want to add anything? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to deny BOA case number 2021-16,
530 Harbor Drive.
530 Harbor Drive.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. The motion on the floor is to deny. I always like to make a point when we're moving in the negative that everybody be reminded. Yay, aye, yes vote is to deny the relief requested. A nay vote would be against denial, therefore in favor of the relief requested. So if you're going yes or aye, you are voting to deny the relief requested.
Thank you, Randy. Is there any other comments that the maker or the second have for this agenda item? And the commissioners, any of the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, Deanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hufnagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hausberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCall,
Yes.
Commissioner Hannah?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Motion is denied. We'll move on to agenda item 6D.
Just for the record, the motion is approved, the relief requested is denied.
Correct. Public hearing 6D, ordinance number 2016-06.
This is ordinance number 2016-06. If you give me a moment to get to that item in my agenda materials.
And this is a public hearing, and it's a second and final hearing.
Yes, this is a legislative hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. At this point, you would be proceeding in your legislative capacity, making a decision unfettered by competent substantial evidence. We are in the second reading of ordinance number 2016-06. Madam,
2021.
2020, yeah, 2021 dash, no, 20, it says.
No, it's a mistake.
Yeah, it's a mistake, sorry. 2021-06, Length of Waterfalls, my mistake. Thank you, I was reading too much. City of Indian Rocks Beach Ordinance 2021-06, an ordinance of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, providing for amendments to the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 1 in general, Section 110-344, swimming pools and spas, amending the permissible location and length of a waterfall, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, to the extent of such conflict, providing for severability, providing for renumbering, and providing for an effective date. This is the second and final reading, ordinance number 2021-06. For the benefit of the commission, on first reading, there was some feedback from the commission to alter the ordinance. It has been altered. The crux of the concern was that waterfall features not be allowed in the rear yard, along the rear yard property line where the property is located along the Gulf Intercoastal some water body, to prevent any kind of shielding, fencing, or some other artificial visual obstruction in the form of the waterfall. The language now reads that the provisions of this subsection shall also apply to decorative waterfalls where they are constructed as part of or integrated into a spa or swimming pool, provided the length or diameter of the improvement does not exceed 12 feet. It was previously 6 feet, which was the genesis of this ordinance. And the added language is when located on a waterfront lot abutting the Intracoastal Waterway, or lot abutting the Gulf of Mexico, the waterfall feature may not be constructed along the seawall or rear property line, and no variance shall issue for a waterfall feature in this location. That was to capture the will of this body. That was the substantive change between first and second reading. Still, of course, regulating the subject of the ordinance. With that, tender it to this body to discuss and ultimately open for public comment.
Any comments at this time from the commission? Hetty, do you want to make any comments? No. Or public comment? Is there anyone for public comment that would like to discuss this ordinance? Hearing none, we'll go back to the commission. And with that, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve 2021-06.
And is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Just to reiterate, they're still limited to 4 feet high. This is just the length of the waterfall. It's not a 12-foot high anymore.
Correct, it's a 12-foot
4 foot high. It just can have a little bit of length to it. We're amending this based on some discussions we had at the variance hearing a long time ago.
Yes. Any comments from the second? Hearing none. Deanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hannah?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCall?
Yes.
Commissioner Hausberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Hufnagel?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes, motion carries. I'm very happy that we did this after the two that we had come in. It doesn't seems like it's not a big thing, but people are starting to put waterfalls in their pools in the back, and so we had some issues, and I'm really glad that we went and we made some changes to it, so it's a good thing.
I just hope you don't do the variance request for a 13-foot waterfall.
Guess what?
12 feet 2 inches.
Sliding board. Okay, guys. With that, we'll move on to ordinance number 2021-07, and this is also a public hearing and second and final reading.
Yes, this is City of Indian Rocks Beach Ordinance number 2021-07, an ordinance by the City Commission of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 90 of the Code of Ordinances to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas, to not permit installation of manufactured homes and recreational vehicles in flood hazard areas, and align with regulatory directives, providing for applicability, codification, severability, and providing for an effective date. This has been a second and final reading of ordinance number 2021-07 by title only. With that, I would tender it to Hetty for any explanation.
Okay, I think we covered mostly everything at the last meeting. The one thing that we were waiting on is an answer back from FEMA if the vents are required in our accessory structures, since we only go up to 120 square feet, which is allowed for a storage structure. But most of what they were referring to was garages and something like 300 square feet. Got the response back? Yes. We have to put vents in any storage shed. So, this, I guess, when you do go by at Home Depot and then install them, or, but anyways, that's the only difference, that we do have to keep that in the ordinance. I was trying to get it not in there.
Does anyone have any questions for Hetty at this time on the commission? Everybody okay? Hearing none, I'm going to open the public comment. Is there anyone at this time who would like to make public comment from the audience? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment, and I am looking for a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2021-07.
And is there a second?
Second.
Is there any comments from the motion maker for ordinance number 2021-07? Any from the second?
No, ma'am.
Okay, with that, does anyone else on the commission have any extra comments? Hearing none, will, Deanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hufnagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Houseberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Hannah,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCall,
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes, motion carries. With that, we are at agenda item number 7. We do not have any other legislative matters at this time. Agenda item number 8, work session items. We do not have any discussions tonight. Is there any other business to come before this board? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
He's quick. Tell us how you really feel.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you have a great holiday.
Congratulations, Mayor Kennedy, and Vice Mayor McCall, and Commissioner
Bond.
Bond.